coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. I'll be your host today on the show, and we're going to have Paul Craig Roberts joining us in the second hour. We're going to be talking about some recent developments in the Ukraine, and in case you haven't heard, the Ukrainian Prime Minister has resigned along with most of his supporting crew there. That raises some interesting questions when governments are in a lot of trouble, as they obviously were because their coalition fell apart. What would a government in trouble resort to? Well, we're going to talk to Paul Craig Roberts. He has an idea about what they might do. I have an idea. I think maybe you have an idea as well. We're going to explore that. Of course, there's ongoing information about the escalating border crisis. Of course, Obama is not content with just incentivizing people to recklessly endanger their children and bring them here or send them here. But he is now talking to leaders from Central American countries, and there is it's being reported from the Daily Mail as well as the Washington Post, many other sources, that he is considering that we're going to go down to Honduras and we're going to start processing children there and shipping them into the United States because they can't get the kids in quickly enough. And of course, there's some other information about parenting and how the government views parents and how they would like to replace parents. You know, we have a brave new world coming up. We have a government that is funding research to essentially put robots with children because, you know, they need their own personal trainers. They need these robots deployed. That's their terminology from a Yale study that they're going to put in there. Of course, they're saying they're not going to replace humans. No, they're not, right? That's not the goal. That's always been the goal of governments, to replace parents. They try to do it as much as they can in as many ways as they can. Of course, going back to Aristotle and Plato, they wanted to make sure that children didn't even know who their parents were. So the kids' only loyalty was to the state. And of course, one of the things that they want to have these robots help their children with is teaching them English as a second language. That kind of tips their hand a little bit, doesn't it? I've been saying all along that a large part of why they want to bring younger children in is because they want to make sure that if they don't have any parents, truly don't have any parents, or if they've only got a single mother, that the government is going to be the main influence on them. They're going to treat them very well initially. They're going to provide them lavishly with schools, or I should say, you and I will provide them with that. We already see in New York, they say that 10% of the schools now have jumped up to being illegal immigrants. How are the local governments going to be able to pay for the increased schools? And that's as far as north as New York. Of course, it is much worse in areas that are closer to the border. So who's going to pay for all this? Well, it turns out that we're looking to see the BRICS. We had a report last night on the nightly news that one fellow believes that one of the reasons they were spying on Germany was because they were concerned that Germany is now going to join the BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America. They're setting up their own IMF fund. They're setting up their own banking system, their own currency. They want to remove themselves from the dollar dominance, from the petrodollar, from everything being priced in the dollar. Once that happens, once people start moving out of our currency, it's going to create a crushing economic depression. That's another thing we'll talk to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts about. Mainly we want to talk to him about the Ukraine, but I want to get his take on that as well, the move to BRICS and what that spells for the American economy. And of course, they're going to double down with this massive expansion of the entitlement state. And so we've also got some reports from Joe Biggs that's down at the border. A lot of things coming up today. We've got news on many different fronts. So check back with us. We'll be right back after this break.
in the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operations.
We let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime Directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water for your preparedness storage or your home kitchen. Purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com. Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. In the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at MadeIn1776.com. The already discounted Made in 1776 t-shirts are only $17.76. We have the new belt buckles that in only 2 weeks of sale are very close to selling out. There's only 500 of each. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in nickeled brass. This is more than a summer blowout special. This is a new declaration of independence. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv for a limited time, only $39.95 a year. That's more than 5 months free off the regular price. Not just this July 4th weekend, but the entire month of July at MadeIn1776.com. Molon Labe, you can take my gun from my cold, dead hands.
Resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. It's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this Friday, July 25th, 2014. We've got a lot of news to cover today. We've got Paul Craig Roberts going to be joining us in the second hour. He's got an article up on Infowars.com. Washington is escalating the orchestrated Ukrainian crisis to a war. Of course, they keep talking about Russian aggression, just keep repeating that phrase over and over again until everybody wants to go to war. And of course, the CNN poll that was released earlier this week shows that already CNN, the mainstream media, and the Washington drumbeat has gotten 10% of the people saying they're ready to go to war with Russia. Over what? Over the accidental shooting of a airliner going down. Of course, that's happened before. Ukraine actually shot down a Russian jetliner back in 2001. You may not have noticed that because it happened right after everything that happened September 11th. It was just in October, the following month, that they accidentally shot down a Russian passenger commercial airliner, and it took them a long time to admit that they had actually done it. But of course, that's happened in the past. We've done it in the past. The U.S. Navy accidentally shot down an Iranian passenger airliner. So that sort of thing can happen. It can also be a false flag. And today we learn that the Ukrainian prime minister, as well as most of his cabinet, has resigned. Their coalition fell apart. They were in trouble economically, politically, militarily in that very area. If they're in trouble militarily, if they're losing in that area, if they're having their planes shot down and they're getting reversed in that area, what would a government that is falling apart resort to? Well, of course, we know the answer to that, and we're going to be talking to Paul Craig Roberts later in the show. Now, we got a couple of articles that are up on the Drudge Report today, one of them from Adon Salazar. Illegal alien gang members have been arrested for the murder of a homeless man, and this was MS-13 gang members. This was a man, Amos Milburn, in Maryland, a 56-year-old homeless man. He was hanging out with friends near a liquor store when he confronted a girl. They got into an argument. The young woman got angry and left, and then came back with several of her friends, who now it turns out were MS-13 gang members. Now, this female that he got into the argument with was actually 17 years old. So according to NPR and according to the narrative that the administration is putting out there, she was actually an unaccompanied child, even though these people are part of MS-13. And of course, we reported last week that there was a group of baby Zetas that were picked up that were in Central America still. This was on a Spanish language feed. The head of this gang of 10 baby Zetas was 16 years old. His girlfriend ran it with him. She was 13 years old. So these 10 baby Zetas, people like these MS-13 gang members who just beat this homeless man to death, these are the unaccompanied minors. And of course, they're the kind of minors who could make that trip across Central America unaccompanied. I don't think there's very many children in diapers who are capable of doing that. Not any real children as you and I would think of them, elementary school aged children that are making that journey unaccompanied. There's something else going on with this narrative, but of course we keep hearing over and over again that it is strictly children, that's the only thing that we need to be concerned about is helping these children. Just yesterday, Hillary Clinton was on a program called On Point, and she said, you've got to remember that these kids that are coming across fall into just two types. You know, there's two types of people. There's the people who break everybody into two types of people and those who don't. Well, her two types of people were either migrants who are coming here to be reunited with their family. Of course, their family isn't citizens, then they're still illegal aliens. But then the other thing she said was they're refugees from violence. What she did not talk about was people who are actually coming here and bringing violence in, who are bringing in these young gang members. We've talked about that over and over again. Of course, the media tries to avoid that as much as possible. And as Adon pointed out in this article, you had to watch the video to even know that these people that beat this homeless man to death, you had to watch the video to know that they were illegal immigrants. They put it nowhere in the article. They basically hit it, just mentioned it very quickly that they were illegal immigrants. Now, when I mentioned about that group of 10 baby Zetas, where the leader was 16 years old and his girlfriend who co-led with him was 13 years old, what they were doing was kidnapping people. They would then videotape them being tortured. And in the cases, even after the people paid the ransom, they videotaped themselves torturing, mutilating, and killing these people and not turning them over to the people who had paid the ransom. These are the kinds of hardened criminals that are being imported into this country. And of course, now Obama is meeting with Central and South American presidents. They're looking at having the American government go down to Honduras and essentially vet children there, essentially import them into this country so they don't have to make this dangerous journey. This is always you see the government doubling down, certainly under Obama. Rather than correcting the problem, he's going to go down there. They built this narrative saying this is simply children who need to get out of violence. This is the narrative that they've been repeating over and over and over again. And when we have people like Glenn Beck go to the border and hand out teddy bears, he's reinforcing that narrative, that it is simply children and we just need to open our hearts and open our hands to them. If you want to help them, fine. Do it privately. Don't blow your horn and trumpet your good works in front of everybody. Because when you do that, all you're doing is feeding this phony narrative that it's only children who are coming in. Now, of course, Obama is incentivizing it. He's creating anchor babies. Anchor babies have already been here. He's created anchor teens, essentially, but he's creating actually anchor